Welcome. I'm Bernice Ross, the CEO and President of Brokerage Up and RealEstateCoach.com. My partner, Greg McDaniel, is out today, but I have three incredible women who are in the technology space for real estate. Okay. I'm so happy to have Marci James with us. She's the Director of Industry Marketing for Realtor.com. Annette Anthony is the VP of Technology Engagement for Exit Realty. And Eleni Sommerschield, she is the COO of Wise Agent, one of the best real estate CRMs anywhere. These ladies know the business. Now, to start with, I think you're all in agreement. What's the number one problem when it comes to any kind of listing technology that the industry faces?
Adoption.
Yeah, everybody says adoption. We're going to be talking about, and that's going to do a case study for us that talks about how they're getting at that at Exit Realty. But Marci, I want to throw this to you because you have some really great stats from NAR about what consumers actually want and what they use, and then what the agents are doing, which is sometimes related to it and sometimes not. Could you share those statistics with us?
Sure. NAR does a study every year on the generational trends of home buyers and sellers. And by generational, I just mean they split those results up, so by age category. But I'm just going to base what I'm going to talk about right now on the average, because from what I've seen, it really doesn't differ a whole lot from the millennials to the baby boomers. Everybody's kind of looking for the same thing, but they talk about what buyers want. And then there's also a list that talks about what the agents actually provided what sellers want on their listing, or what buyers are looking for, and then what agents actually provided. And I think it's scary that there's this big difference in these two lists. And I feel like they should be coming together, because as an industry, the consumer should be our North Star. That's what we say at Realtor.com, but it should be that way as an industry. And we have to honor what the consumer is looking for. So number one on NAR's list is photos. I come from a strong, long background of photography. And I always, even from a marketing standpoint, when I was in real estate marketing on the brokerage level, I always told my agents to get professional photography. I said, your seller is looking at you as an expert in the transaction, in all these other more important things. They don't want to see you there photographing their property. Bring a professional in to do the photography. So it's the number one thing that'll create a sticky listing. Really great photos. And then consumers want detailed information about the listing. So of course, as much information as you can get in. Number three really surprised me. The number one thing that consumers want to see is floor plans. And what's even scarier is when I look at the top 20 list of things that agents actually provided, floor plans is not even on the list. So as an industry, we really need to think about providing floor plans more often. The next thing on the list was virtual tours, which I think a lot of people are doing. I can tell you, Realtor.com has definitely seen that diminish. I believe our stat is we're seeing 40% fewer than what we were seeing like during lockdown, during the peak of COVID lockdown. Everybody was putting virtual tours on their listings. We're seeing about 40% less right now. And I think it's a shame, because consumers want to see those. And so really, really consider doing those more often. I see neighborhood information. That's not necessarily a technology, but it's so important. And they say even including like neighborhood photos, when you're uploading photos, include photos, information about the neighborhood. People want to understand the neighborhood. Interactive maps was on the list. And it really surprised me that interactive maps feature is above video. Video sits, and that's the next one is video. So there's a lot of features. I mean, everybody preaches the power of video, but there's a lot of features that consumers actually want more than they want video.
So Marci, the big takeaway here is, you can really distinguish yourself and match what consumers want if you just do floor plans and you do interactive maps. Okay. We just agreed, Annette, that the big problem is adoption. And I haven't heard of another company that is doing what you've done. And I think this is the best solution that I've heard for the adoption problem problem almost anywhere. So what has Exit, or what have you in particular been doing to solve that adoption problem? Because I thought this was fascinating.
So like Marci, the consumer is the North Star. So at Exit, the North Star for us is the Exit agent. So when they get a listing, and they enter that into the MLS, it's got to create a suite of tools so that they don't have to worry about all the things that they need to get done. They've got a custom text code for the property. They've got 2 single property web pages, tours, flyers, custom text code response, the ability to upload plat maps and resource links. What else? Virtual tours. The single property, they get digital marketing flyers, the ability to post on Craigslist, which is amazing. And other brands, they have great tools as well, or even independents have the ability to market properties, which is amazing. But what we've found to be very, very helpful for agents is when they said, hey, this is great, it's going to help me get more listings, but how do I talk about it with my client? How do I talk about it to the consumer, and why should they care about the tools I have to give their home maximum exposure? And I need to be able to articulate it in a way that consumers will understand. So what we did was, when they came to us and said, hey, we love these tools, but we just don't know how to communicate it, help us so that it gives us the confidence. We decided to create a consumer-facing video, just a quick little text code. You just text list with Exit to 85377. And the strategy behind that, Bernice, is that the consumer is directed to watch that the night before. So if you're the listing agent, whatever tools you're using, have an opportunity to share those tools the night before the listing presentation so that it gives the consumer the knowledge base, right? They have the education of the tools that you have to give their home maximum exposure before you actually go to the listing presentation. Because when you are actually at the listing presentation the next day, guess what? They're already informed.
What did you do to get the adoption of these tools, which this is the part I find to be the most fascinating?
Yes. So what Tammy Bunnell says, Annette, you're just one person. As the Vice President of Technology Engagement, you need some help. So holograms aren't here quite yet, Bernice. So I created a group called Exit Engagement Leaders, which any company can do actually. And what they are is they are exit agents. So realtors, real estate sales associates in offices who have an interest in technology, who love sharing with others. That's who, and they don't have to be a technologist, okay? What I do with this group is I send them a short video, just something small, a tool and resource that we have at Exit that's gonna help them get more listings. They watch it, and then they demonstrate it in the office because we're zoomed out, right? We're webinar out. So when you have an agent in the office, it's actually giving you a walkthrough of how to do it. You will retain that information. It's just gone amazing. We started with 28 engagement leaders almost 3 years ago, and we're at 417, but we're not going to stop until we have an exit agent in every office identified as an engagement leader, right? To impart that wisdom to the agents, actual hands-on, laptops open or mobile device. Here's how you do it. I'm not going to point you to a video. I'm going to walk you through it. Just like Tammy says, you can't learn how to swim by reading a book. You learn how to swim by getting in the water, and you have the instructor in the water with you, walking you through. So my advice to any company, any independent, have a physical person. We value human connection. That is #1 priority at Exit. And having that person to walk you through the technology, for the engagement leaders, it's even given them elevation in their confidence to be able to present. Because if you think presenting to a buyer and seller is nerve-wracking, try presenting to your peers. That can be nerve-wracking too, but it's giving them the confidence to really explain how to use it, the value of why, and it's really helped them close more business.
And for those of you who are with brokers who may not be that tech savvy, there's nothing to stop you from creating your own mastermind group and getting involved with other agents who share your passion for technology and using it in your business. Eleni, you have all this data about how people are using your CRM. What does your data show about how we need to be using, specific kinds of technology? What's most important from your perspective?
Yeah, so single listing sites or landing pages that are specific to a property. So the domain is, whatever the street address is. And so You can buy a domain 123mainstreet.com or whatever. If you want to include the city in there, that's fine. Or you want it to be very specific. And what a single listing site does, or a landing page or a squeeze page, they're named, but they've got all these different names to them. What that is it's a page that has one purpose to it, and that is to communicate really well with a lot of details. Like Marci said, consumers are looking for a lot of information. So put all that information in there. And you don't want to distract the consumer from viewing that property. So you're not going to have a link to your blog there. You're not going to have a link to your Zillow reviews or your Realtor.com reviews or your wherever. You're not going to have them go anywhere else. You want them to stay on that page, read all the information, and then have a spot where they can fill out a form. And that lead form is what's really important, because that's what you're going to be using in order to give them more information. So as soon as they read all the information about the property that you're listing, then you want to compel them to, you don't want to give them everything, because you want to compel them to actually give their contact information to you. So maybe you talk all about the property, or you tell them, all about the address, but you leave some things out there so then they can come to the open house or call you to see it. And then once they've exchanged their contact information, now you've got somewhere to go with this. So another option, so with the single listing site or landing page, you also want to be able to use lead magnets. And at Wise Agent, we offer lead magnets for all of our members. And what our marketing team has created a bunch of content that's really goes well with the landing pages. You want to make sure that everything stays matching, just like with your brand. You want to make sure your brand matches everything else that you do. All of your imagery is the same. And so what we've done is we've created these landing pages that you can customize the colors and everything else that really will talk about, a couple of my favorites are, a couple of the popular ones are, what is your home worth, right? What is the value of your property? So you can post this on social media. It doesn't cost you anything. You can just have with a single click from Wise Agent, you can connect that to Facebook and post it on a page in a group and say, do you want to know what your property is worth? Or are you thinking about selling? So one of our most popular landing pages, the lead magnets that we have, is the 10 mistakes that you would make if you were selling your property. So you want to avoid that. That's something, even that getting that negative reaction sometimes is way more powerful than, look at these 5, beautiful things. So you want to create some kind of emotion. So then that compels them to click on that button to view your landing page, to read about it, and then fill out the form. So then you'll automatically respond to them with that downloaded, that PDF that they can download and read. And then once you've given them that content, you've exchanged their information for your knowledge. Now they're seeing that you have value, you're bringing value to them, and they haven't done anything, they haven't listed. So it's not scary to fill out that form. And now you're starting to build that relationship, which is ultimately the thing that you want to do is build relationships with everyone.
So Marci, you have another listing tool for us.
Yeah, and I didn't mention it earlier because we were really talking about the technologies that were in the top 10. And this one is actually number 11. But honestly, 50% of all buyers want this. And it's the virtual open house or live streaming of open houses. And I was actually talking to someone recently about it because it was so important. Everybody was doing these during COVID, but a lot of people have stopped. But the thing is, there's more and more people that are looking either for vacation homes or homes out of state. And virtual open houses are just a phenomenal way to let people that are not in the area where your listing is located come and view the home with you. And so I don't want people to stop doing virtual open houses just because we're no longer on lockdown and people are afraid to go out of their house, because there's still a lot of potential buyers that are not located within your city.
If I want to tour a virtual, I would rather do a virtual tour and narrow down my top 3 that I want to go see in person. So I would expect my realtor to make sure that they are still doing virtual tours, because it's going to save me time from running around.
I was just going to add to that, Marci, is, one of the things that you can do with the lead magnets is, and this is something that I tell everyone to do, is you could take a lead magnet and say, are you looking, so I'm from Chicago, and maybe it's the dead of winter in Chicago, and I live now in Arizona. Is it negative 30 degrees where you're at right now? Well, it's 80 degrees in Scottsdale. Click here to see, what's for sale, and I'll help you. And so so you can join Facebook groups that are outside of your market to try and attract buyers to come to your market. There are people that are moving. A lot of what's happened with COVID is a lot of people are moving from state to state right now, more than ever. And so that's a really great way of getting new prospects into your database from other locations.
Yep.
And that's absolutely free using social media.
I love that, Eleni, because it is so important. I mean, the new way of work now has freed people up to live all over. So it's really fun. And I think realtors are starting to realize that they have to market not just in their local area, but nationally if they can get more leads.
Now, all three of you are technology experts. If I were the listing agent or trying to become the listing agent on your home, what three technologies would you want to see me talk about during my listing appointment with you? Marci, to you.
Obviously, I would want professional photography. I would want a floor plan because I have a ranch and I feel like the floor plan specifically on ranches is just really important to understand. The number three thing would be, I would want you to put your listing on all of the major portals. And I'm not going to just plug realtor.com. I'm going to say all of the major portals, because honestly, that's where the majority of people are looking, whether we like it or not. That's where they're looking, and that's where the leads are going to come in. And as a seller, I don't care if you get the lead or not. I want my listing to sell, and I want my listing to be exposed to as many people as possible. And that's only going to happen if you put it out there on all the portals. So those would be the three things.
Annette, how about you?
I would say, you know what? If you're my realtor, I want you to show me how beautiful my home is going to look. So I want you to convince me not to sell it. Like, it's going to look that good. Right? So convince me not to sell it. And also, I want to know how your technology behaves on mobile, because I know buyers are fused to their technology. So what are you doing on mobile that's going to make my home irresistible? The other is, I know that you brag on social about all your people, your big network. So show me how you're going to follow up. Show me how you're going to engage with people who are just sneaking a peek. But then how are you going to get them to convert to come in and come and see my home? That's what I want to know. Great questions. Eleni, to you.
I would say definitely what Marci said, fantastic photos and video that goes along with it. A lot of people nowadays, including myself, are really busy. And so don't interrupt my time. That's so precious and valuable. Send me a video so I can see what I will potentially be looking at. And so I want to know that you'll have that video expert to be editing great video. How are you going to promote my listing on social? What does your social network look like? Do you do paid advertising? I'd want to know that. And then I'd also want to know what kind of relationships you have with people. Are you somebody do you have great reviews on Google, on realtor.com? And, I want to know, what are your relationships like? Who are you? What is your social presence? What are you doing on, public facing? Are you well known in that neighborhood, in that area? That will help, compel people to come to my property.
So to wrap up for today, your final piece of advice for our viewers, Marci, to you.
My final piece of advice would be to really listen to consumers. Consumers are leading the way, and the direction that they're going in is the direction that the industry will probably go in. So always pay attention to what consumers are asking for and looking for. And if you can kind of stay in step with that, you're gonna do just fine.
Annette, to you.
Yes. So I would recommend that you rate yourself. How would you hire you? Right. And if there are any deficiencies, I wouldn't say just throw out the bathwater. I would say, you know what, find someone in the industry who does it really, really well and ask their advice, because that is the best way that we can encourage each other, is by learning from each other.
And Eleni, you have the final word today.
So I would say definitely embrace technology, use what's out there to, you know, get yourself ahead of the pack. So you are one of the leaders. Look to other people that are in a different market from you and see what they're doing, but also think outside of the box and do something new and different outside of your comfort zone.
I love that one.
Marci, Annette, Eleni, this has been a terrific conversation. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next time.